We're going to take the North and never give it back.
So that's a good pick. You get the corner.
Man, I'm confident in our offense, that's for sure.
Welcome back to the Unbearable Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Barron. Make sure to like and subscribe out there on YouTube. Also, rate the show 5 stars everywhere that you get your podcast. We're going to you live after the game, a day after the game. As we all know, it was a terrible game. It was an absolutely brutal game. So we were like, also, Johnny PayPal and I, we were at a grad party. We were not able to see it live, but we watched it later. So we finished watching at about 9 o'clock. We saw the bloodbath that was Bears 20, Packers 38. We've already heard this. So today, what we are going to be breaking down for all you lovely people is, first off, we're going to air our grievances for a minute or two. And then after that, we're going to be breaking down what actually happened that's positive, because everybody and their mothers have said all the negative things. And trust me when I say this, we're pissed too. But PayPal, how are you, my friend? That was a crappy game.
Yeah, I think I'm doing a little better now. You know, yesterday it was like I couldn't even sleep. It was like I'm not even joking. Like I couldn't actually sleep because my mind was just on the game, and I was trying to find some sort of positivity out of the outcome. Because the first half wasn't bad, but that second half, and then it kind of spiraled. But besides that, like, the workday wasn't that bad after that Packers win. I was really bracing for impact. I was like, do I work remote? You know, I usually don't work remote. I was really contemplating and not showing my face, but I wore black, and I kind of made it a joke. Like, yep, that was the Bears' deathbed right there. Of just they died on the field there. It was bad. So I wore all black, and people thought that was funny.
Yeah, I flipped it. Like I said before, I work in tech. Not a lot of people care about sports as much as I do. So to the Packer fans, I sent them a message. It was rainy today, so I said, it's no coincidence. Because I think it was God crying because his team lost. I think that's what happened yesterday and today. That's why all the rains were coming down, because it was terrible. And I remember you and I talked to each other, and when we called each other, we're like, yeah, let's not do a show. Let's do an optimistic show tomorrow, right? And talk about it and just like get our heads on straight with everything. But I'm still pissed. And we still ended up talking for like 30 minutes, just like, this sucked, and this sucked, and this sucked. And I just opened up YouTube, and I see right now CHGO, who's to blame, right? They're live right now talking about that. And it's like, that's how we all feel, right? We all want to point the finger. We all want to yell. We all want to do that. And that's why we have our airing of grievances. A total original concept, definitely not pulling from Festivus. We have an airing of grievances because we said, hey, you know what? Things were terrible. Let's talk about it, and then let's bring up who actually looked good, right? Let's start talking about who actually looked good. Did this change our opinion of the team? Because it was bad. And just to go through some of the box scores, 38-20, like we said, Jordan Love, 237 passing yards. And as a team, they ran for 92 yards, 2.9 average, which isn't bad. But when you look at Aaron Jones, he still had 4.6 yards against us. A.J. Dillon, 1.5. And then on our side, Justin Fields did throw for 216 yards, was sacked 4 times, 1 interception, 1 touchdown. We ran for 122 yards and a 4.2 average. But PayPal, let's do our airing of grievances. So how this is going to work. And now we got to switch over. We're going to have fun with being pissed is what we're going to do. Our airing of grievances is, we said, you know what? We're going to give each other just a minute. And also I want to hear everyone out on YouTube air your grievances on this Bears team. I know it's easy, so comment down below. What are you most pissed off about? Get it all out there. This is a therapy session, and we only have 1 minute apiece. So PayPal, I'll let you start. You can do the countdown, and then I'll hit start.
Okay. Yeah, I'll start. All right. 3, 2, 1. Started. All right, so Brett, the coaching, I think that was something that was just awful. I mean, like, the first thing I thought of was like the guys just weren't disciplined, and especially Claypool. That was the one guy. Watched him. Those wide receiver screens. He didn't block. He was just completely not doing anything. You saw Mooney, you saw DJ Moore at least out there trying, giving it their all. Getting lit up, but he did nothing. Offensive line, why the heck, like, why did they start two people that barely even practice the entire training camp? And Nate Davis, who I think probably only was like only practiced once. Same with Lucas Patrick, didn't even play a preseason game. So what were
10
they
seconds.
doing? What were they doing there? Only 10 seconds?
10 seconds.
Justin Fields cannot, he just looked panicky that second half. It just did not look good for him. He
And
has to be quicker. Not good.
Final remark. That minute went quick.
Oh yeah.
Final remark.
Man, like fire. Coach is on the hot seat.
I will try and see that the minute is fast. I'm glad that you went first because I'm like, holy crap. that's very, very fast. So let me start my minute of airing grievances right now. I agree with you. We were completely outcoached. This is what we talked about. This team's a middle of the road team. Depending on coaches, they're either going to be +2 in the win column or -2 in the win column. Yesterday was not a good look. Justin Fields did say that the game plan was actually to push the ball deep. So I haven't seen the all 22 yet, but it seemed like he looked deep and then always threw it short. So I don't know if it's the game plan. I need to watch the all 22, but Justin Fields needs to be quicker with the ball and making some of those decisions. But also, too, they had a little bit of arrogance. They were way too cocky. They felt like they owned everything, and I agree. Interior of the offensive line, 19 freaking pressures. Nate Davis, I said I would not insult you until the actual game and to see if you're actually going to play. You were terrible. You let up 9 pressures. That's terrible because we only had 6 total pressures on the entire line. And Andrew Billings only won once. Walker won twice. Everyone else lost. And my final remark, I guess, because a minute goes way too freaking fast to be pissed. But why was everything open in the middle of the field on 3rd freaking down, right? Like every time that they threw the ball,
really was.
No one was there. We paid for 2 linebackers. Where are they in the middle of the field? Because it's always open. Every 3rd and 7, wide open, open. But PayPal, did that feel good?
Yeah, it felt good. It felt good. I think I was really looking forward to this segment just because I really needed to just talk about some things. And yeah, Broski saying Claypool did not care, and it's one of those things that we talked about it. It's like that was his question for the entire season of like, is he going to put in the effort? And he was like, he was saying that shouldn't be a question because he's going to put, give us his all. And obviously, it did not look like that. And yeah, I think the coaching, Brad, all the stuff you said was correct. And like for me, it's just that coaching of like you see your team on the bench in the 3rd quarter didn't change anything, didn't change a thing during halftime. You saw the Packers change stuff, and then we didn't change a thing. It was like it was terrible. And then you see your players on the bench just looking sad, looking depressed, looking like they don't want to play. And there's no one out there coaching, no one out there hyping them up, And I think that's something that really grinds my gears. So that's my second airing of the grievous of the day.
But it was the blown plays, and so Broski is asking like the plan was to throw the ball deep. That's actually what they told us. That's what I think it was Justin Fields in the interview. They were asking why wasn't the ball pushed deep?
I thought it was throwing it horizontal too. I thought it was lateral.
He was trying to because they needed like better blocking and other pieces like that. And that's where I want to see the all 22. I want to see who was open because there's the one that you see DJ Moore wide open and Yeah, obviously DJ Moore only had 2 passes thrown his way. And my God, I ended up taking the bet on Chase Claypool, 15 and a half yards, because it's one freaking catch, and he couldn't even do that. So, and there's like plays of him going against a 200-pound guy. He's like 230 pounds getting plowed over. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
not a good thing. But the big question, and I'm curious about everyone else's thoughts too, but PayPal, I'll ask you this specifically. I want to know, does this change your outcome? Like your opinion of, because you said Bears playoff team at the beginning of the season, right?
Yeah.
Does
Yep.
this change your opinion of the wins, the losses after week 1?
It honestly, it obviously how can it not make you nervous? You know, can it not, like, I think we all expected us to win this game. One thing is, it's kind of like, how do we respond to this next game? I think is the real test of like how this team's gonna be. Because like if they don't respond well, then what are we gonna do the next game? You know what I mean? If we just lose another crappy game, like how is it gonna get better? Um, and that's where like I listened to those interviews today with Herbert and then also Coach Eberflus, and Herbert was basically saying that it was not his fault. Like, if you kind of listen to him speak, he was kind of saying it was not his fault. Like, he was saying, it was like, all right, what do you have to work on, Herbert? Like, the media was asking him, and he was like, could not think of anything, and basically said, other people, we all have
Not
to
getting
work
hit
on
at the
stuff.
backfield.
Yeah, he was
Like,
like, we all have to work on something, and it's like you could read that he's just saying the offensive line sucked. The receivers weren't blocking on the outside like Claypool. So it's one of those things I want to see if this team can persevere, because there needs to be a leader of this team that really grabs these people and like, what the heck that was embarrassing, and I really hope that happens.
yeah, no, I agree with you there. And I'm looking at just some of the rushing totals. What's good is like when they're going to the tackles, it was good. But when you look at the interior, I'm just pulling up these numbers right now. When they ran towards the right guard, right? Good old Nate Davis, they averaged 1 yard a carry. When they ran up the middle a couple times to the middle right, 3.7 yards a carry. Middle left was 1.3 yards a carry and 4 yards a carry towards the left guard. When they ran after Braxton Jones, they averaged 11 yards a carry. And when they ran behind Darnell Wright, 5.3 yards a carry. I think we know who the good offensive linemen were last game
Yeah.
by just that stat. But yeah, like we said, there's not a good way to feel optimistic after this because you see this whooping. The good part, and I do kind of hate it when people say this, it's 1 week and you took your lashing. I'm glad that they put Justin Fields out there the entire time. He has to live through this entire piece. He's going to get the boo birds, and he got the boo birds. So now, what are you going to do about it? And that's where coaching, prove us wrong, do something, be better. This was our Super Bowl, and we got obliterated like Peyton Manning and the Seattle Seahawks. Like it was terrible, and
Yeah.
it was hard to watch.
I just think it's like, I really think we were correct in saying like, put someone out there that actually did play. Put your Tyree Carter. Put these other guys that have actually played. Like, instead of 2 guys that rarely even played this offseason. And you just saw it completely. Like Lucas Patrick, even if he did play with this team, he's not a good center. So
Yeah. Here's Ron saying fire Getsy. Bold take. And I mean, after you see like what happened there, it's hard. But also too, because I know Broski was talking about Nate Davis, and I just want to call this out, right? Because I did say on this show, I didn't want to talk too negatively with him missing practices until we saw it game day. And we saw that game day. And I'll talk about another person when we break down the offensive bright spots. But yeah, Nate Davis allowed 9 pressures. That's insane. Like, that is terrible. And I believe that his pressure percentage was below 90%. That is
insane.
Alex Leatherwood level bad. And like, I'm not trying to like dig at Alex Leatherwood. I just can't remember someone and that's Alex Leatherwood at tackle bad. Like, that is
Yeah.
horrific because like
Like,
a
that's not
bad
that's not
game is
even that's not even that's not even Mustapher bad, you know?
yeah, for real. Mustafa was
Yeah.
like 97%, and it's
Yeah.
just at center that's bad. But that's where Lucas Patrick gave up 5 pressures, and he was like 95%, right? They did really bad. But
Mhm.
Nate Davis was horrific. I think that's something that changed the narrative, right? You weren't out there in practice. Try to give you the benefit of the doubt. You're going to do me like that, Nate Davis. Terrible. Terrible. but um but let's go over to the bright spots, right? Let's turn this over. And you had the right idea. You're wearing white, you're wearing something bright. I'm wearing gloomy London. I'm wearing, but hey,
It sounds like a paint swatch. I would, color my bathroom walls
gloomy
gloomy
London.
London.
It'd
That sounds
probably
nice.
be this gray too, I feel, as well that I'm wearing right now. But
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about the bright spots. PayPal, do you want to go first with defensive bright spots? Was there somebody that really impressed you?
Yeah. I just real quick with the defense, like, before we do bright spots, because
Yeah.
I just
Yep.
wanna get everything off my chest. Because I see, people are talking about the hits principle, like, all that, and it was so and yeah, we needing Terrell loose. We had no pressure, and something that just grinded my gears is, yeah, you saw the stuff that our coaches or, everyone's been preaching just go out the window. Like, how many times did we hear this season that we're all about winning in the trenches, that Poles is getting guys to win in the trenches. It's all about winning in the trenches, and then the secondary is where you get your playmakers, and that's how you know, win championships, not games, And it's like we had 0 pressure on Jordan Love, and that was
Yeah.
just so bad, and it's like, what were we doing there? And again, I think that's a coaching thing. I don't know if it's our players. I personally am not really blaming the players as much for this because heck, I mean, you see Yannick was doing great and like these other players are doing good. It's just they don't know what to do because their coaching's bad. But
Yeah. And I'll highlight this because I was flying through my grievances with the 1 minute segment. They PFF has them charted as 3 total wins the entire
wow.
game on the defensive line. The Bears only won 3 times according to PFF, which it was 1 time with Andrew Billings and 2 times with DeMarcus Walker. They didn't even count any of what Ngakoue did as a win because they were saying, well, he got his sack and it wasn't really like 100% because of him. That's why he's also lower graded as well. So,
Mhm.
according to them, nobody did anything. So,
Yeah.
where's these trenches? But let's talk bright spots. And actually, I will actually start with Andrew Billings. I will talk about Billings because I will actually grab a whole bunch of things. You get what you paid for. And usually when you sign someone, that's who you get. And I think that's what we saw with this defensive line. Andrew Billings, highest graded player. I don't understand how PFF graded him this high. I thought he was good, but I didn't think he was this good. PFF graded him as an 88.1. That is borderline elite. But I don't
Hmm.
believe that grade. That's just the grade, right? But I do think that Andrew Billings played a good game. Like I said, he only had 11 pass rush snaps and won one of those. And for the Bears, that's epic. And we didn't get him for his pass rush, but you got what you paid for. We knew what he was. He was a solid nose tackle, and he played like a solid nose tackle, I thought. It was everybody else around him. And also, sorry, another grievance. We might just do this throughout the show. Justin Jones, if you're going to talk that much smack about the Green Bay Packers, we said do something. And he
Yeah.
did something all right. He was the second lowest graded player on defense. Who is the lowest, you might ask? Rasheem Green. So there's that. There's that.
Yeah,
But
honestly, talking about disappointment. I that was one of my guys to look out for this game was Justin Jones, and
yeah,
yeah, he was just not present, and that's just how the whole game was. Such
it was
high
bad.
expectations for everyone, and then you know it felt like last year, Brad. It felt like last year, even though we added all these talented individuals. It felt like last year, Justin Fields running around, not passing the ball, and then our defense not be able to get pressure. Our secondary looking pretty good. I mean, Tyreek Stevenson looking great, but it's like everything else. It's like, yeah, there was no pressure, no nothing from our defensive ends, and yeah, I mean, a lot of people talk about Rasheem Green right now, and it's like why is our and I was really hoping to see something from him of like maybe this is why he's really out there, and maybe I just got maybe I'm just not a football guy deep down where I can't see what he's doing, but like why are we keeping guys that didn't produce from the preseason? And that's my question. And why do
I
we keep Rasheem Green? Because I think right now I'm like, if we kept those guys that actually had production, like Terrell Lewis, Gibson, and I'm crazy, but Darius Fountain, he could have been out there actually having production.
I don't
And
know.
we're
You
having
would have
these
to get the ball
guys.
deep. You would have to get the ball deep, though. I think that's
Yeah.
the thing. Also, yeah, Don Wanderley, there are no bright spots, you homers. It You could rewind. This show was supposed to be about bright spots, and we've been pessimistic for the past 21 minutes. So we've been trying to throw down the bright spots, but there's been too many. Because yeah, and that's where I was saying, like, Billings was solid, right? But that's where, like, he was stout and he played decently, but yeah, everybody else not so much. But do you have any? I had Billings. Do you
Yeah.
have anyone else
Yeah, for
that was a bright
defense,
spot on
a
defense?
bright spot on defense. I mean, now we got to flip the switch. I think I'm finally, I think we're all, at least for me, I think I'm good now. I think I got everything out of the system. I'm saying that now, but I gotta say, I think Tyreek Stevenson, he is impressing. Like he is a very physical tackle. We saw that amazing play. It was like our second defensive play, third defensive play of it was awesome seeing Tyreek Stevenson and Tremaine Edmonds, work on that triple option. They ran it out to the
Yeah,
left, and then Tremaine Edmonds played that perfect staying on the quarterback, and then Tyreek Stevenson staying on Jaden Reed and then just absolutely lighting him up. Like that was so cool and like awesome for the rookie. And honestly, like he didn't get burned as much as like you thought he would be kind of, you know, maybe exposed. Like I didn't really think that, but it was like, okay, he's a rookie. He might get exposed how Kyler Gordon did last year.
yeah, I agree. I thought that he was pretty good, all things considered. And I'm just looking at the grades too. He was the fourth highest graded player for the Bears at a 67. Not great, but still,
Mhm.
like we said, we know that he's going to have up and down games. And for a first game, very solid. And yeah, he
Mhm.
gave up a touchdown, but I think like he played it very well, and he had a handful of good plays. Eddie Jackson, though, you brought him up. I go back and forth. And rewatching the game, at first I thought that he was at fault for a handful of plays. The touchdown, that was difficult, right? But the deep pass to Musgrave, I'm going, why aren't you there?
Yeah.
And upon further review, it was TJ Edwards that was actually supposed to get it, he was supposed to be on Luke Musgrave, but he's like, wait, I think I can get the quarterback. The ball's fumbled. I'm going to make the play. He didn't make the play. And so
Yeah.
that's where I think PFF also agrees too. I got the grades up and they gave him a 37.8 for TJ
Phew.
Edwards. Yeah. And Eddie Jackson was the second highest. But I will say, I will commend Eddie Jackson for his tackling because in a game where everybody has like seemingly lost hope, I thought it was really cool just to see this leader like actually try and body AJ Dillon.
Yeah.
As a smaller guy, I I thought that was respectable, especially when you're looking back at everything. When you are the leader of a team, it's about when the chips are down, what can you do? And that he's
Mhm.
still tackling and he's still doing something like that, I think is going to speak volumes on tape. But I thought he played well. The other person too I'll bring up is Zach Pickens. He only played 12 snaps, but you saw a couple little spurts out there where you see the quickness, the one little step, and I think Javon did not show me much, but I thought that Pickens at least, it was 12 snaps, but still, it was
He
a little
he
bit of something.
he made a play out there, and I think that's what really mattered is, like, there weren't many plays being made from our defense. There wasn't like it felt like, like on defense, you kind of almost want to be on the offensive, if that makes sense. Like you want to be aggressive as a defense. And I think we just weren't like you can feel the presence from teams, just watching on TV. At least I can. And it's like we did not have a presence. And it's like having those guys that will actually make a play out there. Yeah, like Pickens, he made that one, which is awesome. And yeah, and I
Do you
honestly
have
another guy
anybody
to add.
else?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think Tremaine Edmonds was kind of the only guy was like, okay, he was okay. He wasn't that, oh my gosh, like amazing. And maybe it's because the linebackers around him did not look good at all. Like Jack Sanborn, sorry to say, he did not look good at all. Um, like Tremaine Edmonds, he at least had those highlight plays of like, hey, that's why we paid him all that money is he can sniff out defenses. Like
true.
when he sniffed that outside zone that was going to the left, when they were like 10, 8 yards from the end zone, it was like, man, like heck, when we had Roquan, I don't think Roquan would have made that play. That was just knowing football and having experience and having that speed to make that play. So that was awesome. It's just now we just need that rest of the team to kind of follow suit and really follow behind him.
Yeah, and this is where too, all 22, I really want to see what happened in the middle, right? That's where to me, I got to see what happened with this coverage. And looking at the grade, Tremaine Edmonds had a 42 grade
Mhm.
for coverage, but yet again, I need to just rewatch the tape. But yeah, it was nice seeing at least some of the bursts, the pops. But yeah, it was tough. The only other person I'll throw out there, I thought that Yannick Ngakoue, he you get what you paid for, right? I didn't think that he was like absolutely freak of nature dominant, but the dude always puts up stats, and he had 2 tackle for losses and a sack. And I think that that was solid. But when you're the best defensive end player that we have, yeah, it was tough. But
Yeah.
any other defenders? Because I felt like defense
Yeah.
was hard. The defense was
Yeah.
not good.
Yeah, I guess it was something interesting. This is not a positive thing, but I think that's what's interesting. And I honestly hope that, big speakers and kind of veterans in the room, like, like Yannick and Walker could maybe talk about this is like, we questioned the D line coach, Brad, and
All the time.
all the time.
Favorite
And
pastime, some might say.
favorite best, yeah. But they're talking about, like, how the scheme, like, they kind of were conflicting with, like, the scheme. They're like, "What we just didn't seem, like, aligned." Like, I think Walker kinda commented on first, then we saw it in Eberflus's interview today of he's like, "Oh, yeah, I think he's talking about the, how our defensive line assignments are and how they're ran." And it's like, I think that's something that hopefully changes, and maybe that's why our defensive line always looks like absolute crap. Is maybe these guys can kind of come in and be like, "Hey, this is what I did, from Indianapolis." Like Yannick could say that, and then Demarcus Walker would be like, "This is what worked when I was at Tennessee," and hopefully spur something up because obviously that was not. It looked awful, and
And this is where I come in and say, well, that's why it's on coaching, right? Like that's
yeah,
where I think like what we're talking about, they need direction. Like they ultimately need direction. They need a manager. They need somebody that can tell them what to do. And right now, especially hearing that, I get more concerned because I'm going, why hasn't that been taught? Why hasn't that been
yeah,
coached up? And
yeah,
why aren't they there? Because you look at the plays. I still believe this. I think that the Bears played better than the Packers for the first half. I just
mhm,
thought that they couldn't push the ball in. They couldn't. There was the mishaps that happened. That's on coaching, and I think that's where. And then after the half, adjustments that the Packers made, the Bears did not. and then now we get blown out. Now we get wrecked. So it's the coaching is definitely the big question mark here. But let's finish this off with offensive bright spots. I actually have a big one. Who do you have?
Yeah, I know there's definitely a big one that kind of shining out there. And I guess this is kind of a little one. I would say is like I honestly think that Tyler Scott looked good. From kind of a kick returns point of view, and then also just when he did catch a few balls near, kind of crunched garbage time. Like he had that nice juke. He looked like he avoided contact a lot better than he did in preseason, which, I know we were kind of afraid if he still looks kind of frail out there, but he was at least avoiding the contact where it didn't seem like he was going to fumble every time he got hit. Um, yeah, but I think he looked great. I think he looked good in place of Valus Jones because, sorry, another negative thing, but why the heck is Valus Jones not out there? Like, let's just cut him and,
Well,
like, there's no point in having him on the team now.
For those that are curious, you do have to keep, I forgot how many on the active roster. I think it's like 47 or something. So you do have to have healthy inactives, healthy deactivations. So that's kind of why he wasn't out there overall, I'd say. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's talk through some bright spots. Oh yeah, and Broski reminded me too, because this is where, like, what I said about them being the better team, I think they played better, but like when they actually weren't committing penalties, like all the false starts that we saw. Because also Lucas Patrick, I'm like, when you get that everybody but the offense, but the center, is that the center? Because like, why was it so nuts? But I'll say someone that I rewatched today every single pass blocking snap for this guy. And that is, I watched two of them. Braxton Jones impressed the heck out of me with pass blocking, but disappointed me like crazy with the run blocking. That's his calling card.
Yeah.
He was holding, he was doing false starts, but right? I will say, when you look at his pass blocking snaps, he played well. He only allowed one pressure, and that is very good. And so that was a big question, was how is he going to be able to pass block? Can he take that next step? And the answer was, for today, is he looked very good. And also the grade backs it up, 89.9. But like I said, I watched every single one, and there were so many pass blocking snaps that he did a very good job at. And I just want to commend him for that, because I think he's going to get overlooked because everybody sucked at run blocking. Whatever was going on, maybe it's Lucas Patrick calling out the assignments in the running game, whatever it was his run blocking was crap, but his pass blocking was good, which now get back to your normal self and let's run the ball. Like, let's start pass blocking, or let's start run blocking. But I will say, he did impress me. I don't think he went against Rashawn Gary, though. I don't think I saw Gary. So he's got that little asterisk next to the. But
and we saw Rashawn Gary on, the old young guy, the young buck, Darnell Wright, which made Rashawn Gary look like an all-pro, Brad. That was honestly a big disappointing thing. I there's things coming up, and I'm remembering as we're going on here, and I'm trying to block it out because I'm like, oh man, that was depressing.
Yeah.
We could pass over that if you want.
I did watch Darnell Wright with his pass blocking snaps, and the biggest thing was he's such a rookie. Where, like, there's some snaps that I'm like, dude just does great. And then there's other snaps where you're like, now why would you do such a thing? Like there's a couple, like, he literally tried to, I've never seen a tackle do this. He dove at the defensive end's legs. Like, I really haven't seen too many people do this, where it's not like something crazy is going on. It's literally a defensive end coming right at him. He just dives down at his knees, and I'm like, what? And then, like, Van Ness just, like, walks around him and gets to Justin Fields, and I'm sitting there going, like, dude, why? Like, why? But there was a handful of good pass blocking snaps that he did have. I mean, but he did still allow 5 pressures. So it wasn't a great game for him pass blocking. But I will say, I had questions about his run blocking. He was the best run blocker out there.
Oh, for sure.
He was yeeting people to the side. And I'll take it because he had the question mark about his hands, but when the dude, he was also the best tackler on the team, we found out, with Quay Walker. So yeah, it was honestly
Yeah.
a solid game though I'd say for a rookie going against Rashawn Gary, an all pro. It was solid.
okay.
It was
And
solid.
having a guy that you never practiced with
Yeah.
right next to you.
Nate Davis.
Like Nate Davis. Like I think that's what we kind of have to take in for in perspective, honestly. And yeah, and I just want to call it this comment. I think Don has a really funny comment, and honestly, it made me like get goosebumps kind of because it's so true. He said I'd rather have EQ out there than Claypool. At least he plays with heart and can block. Like,
For real.
honestly, I agree.
Like,
I agree, and
yeah.
I can't believe I would be saying that, but I
Yeah.
completely agree with that. And yeah, because Claypool, at least he did nothing. At least EQ, he'll block.
Yeah,
um,
it's also, if you don't want to be there, right? We always say change the narrative, and he's not. He's not.
He's not.
He's actually adding to it, and he was called out by Kyle Brandt on national television. He didn't say his name, but he said, "You all know who we're talking about."
Exactly.
And you put on the film, and you know who we're talking about. Yeah, if you don't want to be there, and we said this in the offseason, like I mentioned this, I'm like, if there's questions about his character and the leadership didn't want him, I was like, back then I was like, get DeAndre Hopkins for a year. I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
I just, if Claypool was not the guy, then you move on. And so, but
yeah, honestly, yeah, with like, besides all kind of that negative like offensive line, I mean, you had a good one with Braxton Jones, and yet, like Darnell Wright didn't look bad for a rookie, I guess. And the wide receivers kind of were a bright spot when they're actually thrown to. And that's where we don't know if they're not getting open, which I think we can't have that excuse anymore. It's like
Yeah.
we have like a good, Mooney is a good route runner, and he's kind of where he's at. He's supposed to be that 2 or 3 receiver. And then we have DJ Moore. So it's like at least those two guys, one of them should be open, and including Cole Kmet in there. One of those guys should be open. And honestly, I think Mooney was kind of one of those bright spots, as well as DJ Moore. Like, I think it's always a really good sign when, when I went into work today and the Packers fans are like, "Man, who's that DJ Moore guy?" Thank God
like,
you got, thank you. Yeah, they're like, "Thank God you guys stopped throwing to him." And and I was like, I know, right? Yeah, because it's like, when he did have the ball, it was like he was just embarrassing the Packers players, and he honestly gave us that kickstart in that first half of kind of getting offense going. And it was just, why isn't he? And honestly, I didn't watch the all 22, but like, with how Jair Alexander played, I don't think he was locking down GD Moore. From what I saw Jair playing, I don't think he shut him down. I know
he was
Jair
on other people.
Yeah, he was on other people. He was on Claypool in the red zone. He was on other people. So that's that's always a bogus excuse, I think. I've been hearing that one out there, and no, it's just, we're not finding JJ Moore the ball, if that's Justin Fields, or honestly, if that's Luke Getsy.
Yeah, and actually, I'll talk a little bit about Justin Fields, because I had him as a grievance because of just the holding onto the ball, and yet again, what was he looking at further downfield? We'll still have to review that, but I will commend him for a handful of different pieces. There was literally one play that I was watching where Nate Davis got just tossed, and this was down when he could be picking up when it was almost a safety. Nate Davis just gets tossed to the side by 95, and then Darnell Wright gets beat. So there's literally 2 guys right at him. It's an easy sack. He breaks out of it, snakes through, gets, I don't know if he officially got, I think that's when he got 10 yards.
He's got close, yeah.
He got 10 yards, but seeing what he's able to do, that was what was so great. And I will say, I think that he took a step forward where when he was seeing the pressure, there was a handful of passes that he made with pressure in his face that I got to commend him for. That I thought it was a good play overall
Mhm.
that he made. And before, he would not be making those plays. He would not be making those throws. He stood there and was able to throw it. Also, the touchdown to Darnell Mooney, he audibled because he saw that it was cover zero, and he did that.
Mhm.
That's
Perfect.
great. That's where little progressions. We'll review the tape. We'll see what he's able to do because, and I agree with Broski out here, there is a chance that Fields has some ruinedness to him where what was he looking at deep down the field? And I believe it was Greg Braggs from CHGO. He was talking about in training camp, they never were throwing the ball deep and they were throwing it with these short passes. Why aren't we trying to take those further deep passes? That's what Justin Fields always did. And that's where for us, we're like, cool, he's throwing the shorter passes. We know he loves throwing the deep ball, but where was that? So we'll review it. We'll figure it out from there. But let's talk about the brightest spot. Roschon Johnson, right?
Yep.
Roschon Johnson. And question out to everybody that's watching too. Here, I can post this out. Like legit. Should Roschon Johnson be the RB1?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, literally with how he played, it's just one of those it's one of those weird things. Like he's a rookie and it's like it's almost like I don't know if it's like offensive if that's why they're not doing it, like if it's going to ruin the locker room or something. But just watching it, Brad, it's like he should start. Like you see his they Eberflus, and we all salivate when we watch him of how like he is just such a physical runner. He's always just going, north to south. Like he is just a hard runner, and it's so fun to watch. And honestly, just accompanies what this Bears team is. And like when it was so depressing that second half, here comes Roschon. And that cured all that depressive, all that depression. It
Yeah.
was like, oh my gosh, like look at Roschon go. Look at him just absolutely just make the Packers just look like babies out there. Like when he shoved a Ford to the ground and then Ford like try to push him, that was my favorite play of the game right there.
Yeah, I gotta say with Roschon Johnson, man, and yeah, Ron just said it. He's an angry runner. He runs with ferocity. He wants to punish them. Also, did you see the pass block that he had where he was in
No.
pass cover? Like he had a block and a defensive end. He literally took him on one, blocks him.
Wow.
And Justin Fields is running. He's running, and it's like he's up at like the top hash type of thing. He's running. Justin Fields is down here, and he's still running downfield trying to make blocks, trying to play.
Yeah.
And it's like that's playing with heart. And
Yeah.
that's what you want. You want someone who's hungry. You want somebody that in the crappy time, and this is what we know. Roschon Johnson, everyone says, amazing person. He got that award for just being an amazing person at the Senior Bowl, a great leader. And we talked about this in the offseason because a lot of people were like Roschon Johnson, RB1, and I still back up like what I said. Something bad has to happen in order for him to get that. And what we saw yesterday was bad. And
Yeah.
Khalil Herbert, right or wrong, he wasn't able to do much because of this run blocking. But at the same time, Roschon Johnson was able to pound through some people and really kind of make a name and get some of those yards. So Roschon Johnson, he can pass block, he can catch. We saw Khalil Herbert get some catches. But yeah, Roschon Johnson ends the day with the most catches, 6 catches, 35 yards on 7 targets. So also tied for the most targets. Also had the largest yards per carry at 4. Now,
Wow.
more in garbage time, right? We know that. But still, Roschon Johnson. And I got a text from my friend who's a Lions fan saying that Roschon Johnson, though, he's something. So,
yeah,
random
better than
friend
Dave
who's
Montgomery.
Random friend who's a Lions fan will tell you that he's going to be good. But yeah, I want to see it, right? I already said he's going to be my favorite Bear this year. Like, We got to see it. But PayPal, anything else positive that we can take away from this? I'm going to pull up my notes just to double check if I missed anything.
Yeah, I mean, it really makes you think too of like, this team, Khalil Herbert. It's like he's not really that ground and pound running back, and it almost feels right having a Roshan at that number one spot because it's like that's what this team wants to do. They want to wear you out. They want to beat you with physicality, and I think that's like one of my favorite plays with him was actually when he didn't have the ball was when there was that Quay Walker pick six. You saw he went he tried to hit the ball of Quay Walker with his helmet. I think he could have easily taken out Quay Walker and tackled him, but you could tell that he went for the turnover, which I always like. But then after Quay Walker kind of bouncing off, he just ran full speed and tried to tackle him down. And I just think that this plays with his heart and kind of that hard work. And honestly, I could see them watching the film and be like, hey, look at that guy. Like while everyone else is watching the play go on, like the whole team talking about you, Claypool, like he was running. Same with Darnell Wright. They were running to try and stop the play and giving it their all.
Yeah. So I'm excited to turn the page on this. Like I am so drained from this game, just the crappiness that was this game, but still, like we said, there's still some positivity, right? There's still some good plays that were out there. So coaching staff, like we said, get your stuff together. Start coaching these people up and let's stop these big plays, right? We're on to the next week. We need to get a big dub because in 2 weeks, we're going against the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, even though the Lions beat them, I don't think we're going to be able to be lucky and not have Travis Kelce and Chris Jones. But we will keep you updated with everything that's going on and preview the next game. Make sure to like and subscribe out there on YouTube. And also, I can't believe I was so focused on just the game that we are still giving away the Darnell Wright jersey, the guy who smacked the crap out of Quay Walker and probably got him concussed. Make sure to rate the show 5 stars on Apple Podcasts so you can be eligible when we reach 58 5-star reviews. We will give away the Darnell Wright jersey on our show. But with that, Unbearable Sports Podcast, we are out.